is Pentagon using Moab bombs against giants hidden in Afghanistan? On April 12, the US Air Force dropped the largest conventional bomb in the Pentagon's arsenal to flush out Islamic State terrorists, according to official Pentagon reports. However, insider testimony suggests another reason for the use of the Moab bomb. The undisclosed goal is to flush out, capture or destroy giants hidden in Afghanistan's ancient cavern system who possess technological secrets going back to the origins of human civilization. The massive ordnance air blast bomb, Moab, also known as the mother of all bombs, contains 21,600 pounds of explosives and has a mile-long blast radius. The Intercept reported that the Moab was not used by the Bush administration back in 2003 due to fears of collateral damage. President Donald Trump appears to be living up to his pledge to, quote, bomb the shit, end quote, out of ISIS. But is he? Are ISIS terrorists the real target or just a cover for an undisclosed enemy? A threat Trump may not have been briefed about, but one locked in the crosshairs of the deep state that is really behind the Pentagon attack. A number of whistleblowers have come forward with stories of giants hiding in Afghanistan and other locations where these giants are currently awakening from stasis chambers that have been asleep in for thousands of years. Secret Space Program whistleblower Corey Goode was among the first to publicly disclose the existence of stasis chambers that have been holding perfectly preserved giants for millennia. In an August 4, 2015 interview, Goode discussed how he had accessed information on smart glass pads during his covert service about these sleeping giants and the technology of the stasis chambers that were preserving them. Goode said, quote, when I was in the program, the secret space program, when I would have had time to sit and look at the smart glass pad, there was lots of information that I looked at. And one of them was that there were beings that they found underneath the surface of Earth, usually underneath mountains, Indian burial mounds that were not dead but weren't quite alive. They called them stasis beings. And it turned out that they had used a technology that had been there long before from this group they called the ancient builder race. So it didn't put the beings in stasis that a lot of us would think of as in being frozen, but it just changed the way they experienced time. They would probably go to sleep for maybe 20 minutes and 30,000 years or so would pass by, end quote. Goode described the size of the beings found in the stasis chambers, quote, and to look down in, they saw these very tall beings or very large humans with reddish beards. These tall red-headed red-beard groups were in Europe and South and North America. And apparently at one time before the last ice age, they had a very large area that they ruled, end quote. According to Stephen Quayle, who has written several books about giants, elite US military forces have been stationed around the world, including Afghanistan, to locate the giants. He cites elite military personnel who have spoken to him about battles with the giants. During one of Quayle's radio interviews on Coast to Coast AM, one of his military informants called in and told the audience about an incident in Afghanistan involving a deadly encounter between a 12-foot giant and a US Special Forces. The informant claimed that the giant had killed 9 members of the elite team sent to capture it, and it took a second team to arrive and finally kill the giant. I have heard similar stories from another Special Forces operative stationed at MacDill Air Force Base who has served in Afghanistan and is knowledgeable about the secret war to capture or kill giants. I am presently encouraging the operative to come forward with his testimony through a third party. Quayle uses biblical sources to support his analysis of giants and what they mean for humanity in the current era. Basically, he views them as the biblical Nephilim, who are the offspring of the fallen angels who interbred with humanity, as mentioned in the book of Genesis. Quote, the Nephilim were on the earth in those days, and also afterward, when the sons of God came into the daughters of man, and they bore children to them. These were the mighty men who were of old, the men of renown. Genesis chapter 6, verse 4. End quote. There are multiple biblical passages that refer to the giants or Nephilim and the wars waged against them by the ancient Israelites. Quote, "So they brought to the people of Israel a bad report of the land that they had spied out, saying, The land through which we have gone to spy it out is a land that devours its inhabitants, and all the people that we saw in it are of great height. And there we saw the Nephilim, the sons of Anak, who came from the Nephilim, and we seemed to ourselves like grasshoppers, and so we seemed to them." End quote. Numbers chapter 13, verses 31 to 33. The Nephilim, or the giants, according to Quayle, were predicted to re-emerge during the end times and be restored to power by the corrupt global elite who maintain bloodline connections to the fallen angels. In an earlier article, I described how the fallen angels described in the Bible were actually extraterrestrial refugees who established a colony in Antarctica approximately 60,000 years ago. The extraterrestrials, originally from Mars, established their Antarctica colony right over ancient builder race technology that is millions of years old, according to Corey Goode. The fallen angels, or the extraterrestrial refugees, pre-Adamites, according to Goode, established colonies all around the world, including the Middle East. They used genetic engineering to create hybrid offspring, the Nephilim, or giants who were placed in positions of authority to rule as proxies for the alien refugees in Antarctica. The ultimate source of power of the Nephilim, or giants, was the advanced extraterrestrial technologies possessed by their progenitors, the fallen angels, or the Martians, or the pre-Adamites. In a strange irony, perhaps intentional, the Bible refers to a tribe descended from Moab, son of Lot, who embattled giants called the Emim. The book of Deuteronomy says, quote, "The Emim lived there formerly, a people as great, numerous, and tall as the Anakim. Like the Anakim, they are also regarded as a Rephaim, but the Moabites called them Emim. The Horites formerly lived in Seir, but the sons of Esau, or the Moabites, dispossessed them and destroyed them from before them and settled in their place, just as Israel did to the land of their possession, which the Lord gave to them." End quote. In this passage, the descendants of Moab destroyed the giants in the land that the Moabites wanted to settle. Now the Pentagon just used a bomb called Moab, allegedly to destroy giants hiding in Afghanistan's cavern system, if Quayle and other sources are correct. This does not appear to be a mere coincidence. In addition, the name Isis refers to an ancient Egyptian goddess widely worshipped throughout the ancient Middle East as a benevolent entity. It would not be a stretch to view her as among the fallen angels, the extraterrestrial refugees or Nephilim giants that influence human affairs through advanced technologies that made them appear godlike to humanity at the time. In an April 2016 article, I described at length that the motivations of the giants are far more complex than what the biblical accounts suggest. Some of the giants, according to multiple sources cited in the article, were benevolent, and not all bloodthirsty tyrants intent on subjugating humanity. Isis may have been a benevolent giant or extraterrestrial refugee who had access to advanced technologies and wished to help humanity evolve in a positive direction. This suggests a hidden agenda behind the use of the acronym ISIS to describe Islamic fundamentalist groups behind global terrorism. Are we currently repeating history where humans are attacking giants to gain control over territory and ancient knowledge? This appears to be the case in Afghanistan with the recent use of Moab against alleged ISIS terrorists. If my analysis is correct, then what we are witnessing in the Middle East in terms of the war against ISIS terrorists is a cover for a covert war against giants, some of whom are followers of the ancient goddess Isis. The April 6 Pentagon strikes against Syria might also be part of this covert war being waged against the giants. On the border between Syria and Lebanon lies Mount Hermon, which was described as the main base of operations of the fallen angels or the extraterrestrial refugees. Quote, "And it came to pass, when the sons of men had increased, that in these days there were born to them fair and beautiful daughters, and the angels, the sons of heaven, saw them and desired them. And they said to one another, Come, let us choose for ourselves wives from the children of men, and let us beget for ourselves children. and they were in all 200, and they came down on Ardis, which is the summit of Mount Hermon. And they called the mountain Hermon because on it they swore and bound one another with curses. End quote. Mount Hermon is where the Nephilim had their center of power for the Middle East, and where presumably much of their advanced technologies were hidden. Consequently, the renewed push for the US to enter the Syrian civil war is not driven by humanitarian concerns at all, as claimed by President Trump. Instead, the real goal is for US military forces to enter Syria and locate the ancient bases used by the fallen angels or the giants and gain control over the extraterrestrial technologies that are hidden there. Clearly, the surge of US military activities in Afghanistan and Syria is a matter of great global concern due to the loss of innocent life. What adds to such concern is evidence that giants, some of whom may be benevolent, are being secretly targeted for capture or destruction. The information that giants have about ancient human civilizations, advanced technologies, and extraterrestrial life deserves to be publicly released as soon as possible and not withheld to further the interest of the US military and global elites who seek to monopolize information possessed by giants for their own hidden agendas. This has been Dr. Michael Sala with ExoNews TV.